Now we move to the probe hanging over Governor Cuomo's head. U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara still riding the governor's heels here over the Moreland Commission. Bharara now investigating whether the governor's administration interfered when the commission attempted to investigate groups tied to Cuomo. Preet Bharara sent a warning letter to members of the panel after several of them have come out publicly defending Cuomo's handling of the commission, claiming that no pressures were exerted on them. Now, the U.S. Attorney's letter in part said, to the extent anyone attempts to influence or tamper with a witness's recollection of events relevant to our investigation, including the recollection of the commissioner or one of the commissioner's employees, advise our office immediately. We must consider whether such actions constitute obstruction of justice or tampering with witnesses that violate federal law. As you can imagine, Cuomo's Republican challenger, Rob Astorino, taking this opportunity to get in his punches, and I'm talking not just jabs here, I'm talking haymakers.
For the governor to meddle in and to shut off where investigations will go when it got too close to him and his friends and his donors, to threaten and make sure they pull back subpoenas, is potential for obstruction of justice.
At the end of the commission, I told the commission that any information they have, any files, any documents should all be turned over to the relevant prosecutors. So that's been done already.
And that's probably the last you're going to hear from the governor on this one, saying, given the U.S. Attorney's letter that says, well, all right, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here, but help me with this one. When Bharara first got involved with this, when the commission shut down, I said, he's a smart guy. Okay, everybody who knows Bharara knows the U.S. Attorney is a smart guy and he's got some motivations, as does just about everybody in the public eye, that go beyond being U.S. Attorney, I believe. But I said, he wouldn't be doing this unless he thought he had something. But then to double down the way he did in as public a way, is it cynical of me, or do you think prudent to think he knows there's got to be something there, or he wouldn't go to this degree because he's going to look terrible if at the end of the day there's no there there?
Well, I don't think we want to get into the business of assuming that
of course we do. Why do you think we're
because
sitting
the U.S.
there?
Attorney is interested in something that necessarily means there's something there. But I got to tell you, just watching that segment a moment ago and listening to Rob Astorino criticize what's going on, I mean, the hypocrisy is so thick you can choke on it. Because let's remember, the only individual who's actually being hauled before a federal court right now is Rob Astorino. The only person who's being investigated by a DA is Rob Astorino. And Rob is, of course, intimately familiar with the U.S. Attorney because he himself got a sternly worded letter last year reminding him that he had to comply with the U.S. housing settlement. So I think that a little bit of perspective is required.
Now, at this point, I go like this. At this point, I go like this. Over to you.
Now I know who's running the Westchester Truth Squad or whatever it's called. I just want to know, I want to see who the first person to say it's not the crime, it's the cover-up at the table. Anybody want to go first?
I did this one last night. So
yeah,
it's already done. It's already done.
Do it. It's yeah.
No, come on here, guys. We've watched how this goes. Whatever there is, why is he doing this? You've seen a few U.S. attorneys.
You want to know the real reason why the U.S. Attorney is doing
reason why.
it?
Yeah,
okay, well, no, if you really want to know the reason, it's obvious. It's political, and they don't like each other. It's personal between the government. I'm telling you the real reason.
Hold on. There's a long line. This is the worst kept secret in New York State. There's a long line of people who don't like this governor, but there's a longer line of people that are afraid of him.
Right.
Okay. For him to do it, he's the only one so far. Let me go. Other than the candidate running against him, other than Rob Astorino, he's the only public official that has gone public in criticizing the governor. And he's come for the U.S. Attorney's office.
99.9% of people are afraid of Governor Cuomo. His problem is the little 1% happens to be a federal prosecutor that could bring him down. And he's got a problem.
But you're saying a U.S. attorney is going after Andrew Cuomo because he doesn't like him?
It's obvious. It's personal. It's not
that he possibly obstructed justice?
Or
that he pulled subpoenas for people close to him?
It's two top dogs. It's two top personalities that don't like each other. That's the bottom line.
But fair enough. But here's where I part company, Andrew, with Dominic. He may not like him. There's a whole lot of folks who don't like him. But as a U.S. attorney, to question what was the governor had full rights to. Now, whether or not optically it didn't look right or, ethically it looked right, he had every right to shut the commission down when he did, okay? When he shut it down, that very next day, you had Bharara coming out saying something doesn't smell right here, and we're going to investigate it. Secondarily, he doubled down yesterday with these statements here. My point is, we're not dealing with somebody who just likes to get in front of the camera, certainly likes the media, but you don't do that unless there's an agenda to it.
I'm honestly not sure what Bharara's motivation is in all this. We know that there are other investigations.
Do you think the U.S. Attorney gets involved if there's nothing there?
Possibly.
We know that
Others have.
We know that there were other investigations that springboarded out of Moreland that Bharara's office picked up on. What we don't know is whether the shutdown of Moreland was connected to some sort of cover-up to try to stop those investigations from reaching allies of the governor's, or whether the governor did this simply as a political cudgel for the legislature. There's something about this that doesn't look right, and it wouldn't put it past Bharara to make this point because of the way it looks with,
let
Cuomo not cleaning up
my
all of it.
cynical self here ask one final question before we go to break. The Times, when they broke the story, we're all big boys here. Somebody obviously gave them some stuff to go. Who do you think gave the Times enough, knowing the Times wasn't going to sell them out, okay, that they could keep this off the record? Does anybody at the table think that a commissioner didn't go talk to him? Oh, they have some of them quoted, sourced in the piece. But who else do you think went to the Times here? There's a long line. Come on now. You know how this works.
What would be the motivation for that? Is it commissioners who are upset that
They
they
wanna
didn't
hit
get
the
a chance to
governor.
finish the job that they were doing?
And I'm wondering what the Attorney General was doing, having lunch with the
U.S.
U.S.
Attorney.
Attorney yesterday, conspicuously
in
downtown.
a public place.
A place
We
where
know
reporters
how these
mingle.
things work.
Come
We
on,
are
City
getting
Hall.
way ahead of ourselves.
We absolutely
Let us
are.
remember there
It's
was
a
I
fun
agree with the
show.
mayor on this.
a letter that was sent. People spoke to one person or another. There are lots of people who've been engaged in this, any one of whom could have spoken to the New York Times. The level of speculation, building layer upon layer upon layer, is far ahead of the facts that have actually been
Okay,
known.
you're going to tell me that a person fresh out of high school, let alone college, if they're running the communication department for the Attorney General, is going to let him sit in a public restaurant with the Attorney General when he just went after the governor? Oops. I mean, come on. The optics of this say that it doesn't look right.
I'm sure they had a delicious lunch.
And then 3 hours later, he released the letter.
You love this. I'm doing your work for you tonight here. All right. When we come up next, we're going to be going on the national level, and we're going to be talking about the president under fire, shock of all shock from House Republicans, who, well, last night voted to sue him for taking executive actions. And the question I have is, how's this going to play? Because, oh, yeah, we have an election come November, and what is it that the GOP really wants from this president other than for him just to go away? Stay with us.